African time, and we're going to be switching gears now to another important conversation. We're still sticking with the theme of immigration, illegal immigration, and how South Africa plans to deal with that reality and the scenes that we're seeing coming out of Durban, and what they are telling us about the state of the country and how we continue to grapple with this very, very contentious issue. The Department of Home Affairs is working with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and they've essentially established a priority court to process immigration matters involving Malawian nationals that are currently accommodated at Sherwood Park, and they're operating through a virtual platform under the authority of the Durban's Magistrate Court. The initiative, from what we're gathering, is essentially designed to speed up the consideration and confirmation of deportation orders. And supporters say the move could, I don't know, help reduce administrative delays and provide some kind of legal certainty for those that have been affected. But there are critics who are raising questions about due process and also access to legal representation, and whether fast tracking immigration matters could come at the expense of individual rights. And the development comes amid heightened tensions, as I mentioned, around migration, voluntary repatriation efforts like those that we've seen from Malawi, and just general growing pressure on government to resolve the status of thousands of foreign nationals that have been displaced by the recent unrest. And joining us now to unpack the legal implications of this court is immigration law attorney Ashraf Essop, who's joining us via our virtual platform. Ashraf, salamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Walaikum salam, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all ours. And I want to start with the basics. What exactly is this priority immigration court from your perspective, and how does it differ from the normal immigration process that we all know?
So let's just take a step back and have a look at the state president's address and the promise that there will be the establishment of immigration courts. Now, I don't know how this has come about, but to me, it appears to be like a trial court. And the only difference being that they're using technology instead of going through the whole logistics nightmare. In the normal course, the courts are very, very busy and overcrowded. So from what I understand from the press release, the Deputy Minister of Justice actually went to the Magistrates Court in Durban and had a look at the setup. Now, there's two parts of this. There's the setup, the technical setup to facilitate going quickly through a number of applications, and then there's the legal setup. So while, South African law says any illegal immigrant must be deported. So if they've gone to that stage, from what I'm looking at the statement, it appears that the voluntary repatriation scheme has now come to an end, where you were not declared undesirable, you were taken on taken out of the country. This seems to be a two-step process. A, you'll come to court, you'll probably have to plead guilty, and B, then you'll be sent to Lindela for repatriation. The only difference being that in the general course, if you are found to be illegal and there are criminal charges attached to that, then the demand is that you have to appear within 48 hours of your arrest. I can't see that there was any arrest affected on any of these individuals, unless they signed some document that said they pleaded guilty. The second step is your detention has to be confirmed by a magistrate. So I don't know if we at that point and for what period. So from what I'm looking at, it appears to be not a model application of any new law, but I think it's more a trial to see how we're going to deal with so many people that have now appear to be illegal. I think the figure in that area is about 10,000. It's a huge logistics nightmare.
Is there any kind of legal basis for conducting these proceedings through a virtual court platform? And is this a common approach? Have we seen this anywhere else?
It's not a common approach, but since COVID, there have been a number of cases that we've had to deal with online, as we say. But then there's a whole legal process of the pleadings being filed through court online, and the judge shares that document, and all the parties have access to the document. And then the hearing is taking place virtually. Again, as I say, there's not sufficient detail in the press release to guide us on whether A, the accused has pleaded guilty or the person has pleaded guilty. B, he has the services of an interpreter. On that score alone, the South African bill for interpreters last year was about 300 or 400 million.
Sure.
C, whether he understands his rights, because part of any crime is the intention to commit a crime. Was there such an intention? And lacking that intention, that will be a defense. So again, we don't know if the person appearing there has been appraised of his rights. The fourth is the right to legal representation. Now, we already know that that is strained, and legal aid is threatening some kind of withdrawal from the court system so that the demands can be met. Again, I'm saying from what we're witnessing, we don't actually know if that was the correct route to have undertaken. And it appears the two government bodies have basically consulted each other and decided that that is the way forward. If there is going to be any illegality, I'm sure some or other NGO is going to take it up or bring interdictory proceedings in the High Court. We don't know yet. These are extremely early days in this process.
And one thing that the government has noted is that, as you mentioned, the aim is to reduce the backlogs that are there, and to speed up the confirmation of deportation orders. From a legal perspective, would that be a reasonable objective?
No, you see, government's incapacity to deliver in terms of any mandate cannot be passed on to the public. And
Mm,
not being able to not being able to do your job is not an excuse. I mean, the Constitutional Court has been clear about this. So what we do have common problems that everyone knows. We have porous borders, we have corrupt immigration officials, we have an inefficient delivery from the Department of Home Affairs, and we've had opportunism, we've had crime, we've had syndicates. There's a whole lot of problems that contribute to the slowing down of the process. But in the same way that they dealt with the ZEPs when the
mm,
asylum system was overrun, they gave them a special dispensation, which really meant that they will phase out, which I think now is till July 2027, phase out all of these interim arrangements. But I think what's really driving this is not government's desire to get rid of the backlog or to put matters right. I think the real fear is the public backlash against the perceived threat of migration. So I think that has spurred matters on. This has not been as a result of government invitation to leave the country, but it was driven by fear. I'm talking specifically
mm.
of the reasons preferred in Durban.
Mm, mm. One concern that I noted on this is whether or not speed could come at the expense of due process. From your perspective, what would you say are some of the rights that the individuals that are facing deportations could retain under South African law at this point? Are there any?
Well, any accused has the right to understand the charge against him in a language that he understands and be given the services of an interpreter. That's the first thing that happens to you when you are arrested. There is a part of that, and your constitutional rights are spelled out. And if you're not happy, you don't sign that. So we don't know if that happened. If that didn't happen, or they were held beyond 48 hours, which doesn't appear to be the process. We're not going through the normal process.
Mm,
Secondly, none of this was gazetted that these are how the changes will be, or how these people will be dealt with legally. It appears, like I said, to be a pilot project to see how far it can go. Number three, you must understand the elements of the charge. You must plead guilty to having the mental element to break the laws of the Republic for you to get a conviction under Section 41, 41(1) of the Immigrations Act. 49 sub 1 of the Immigrations Act, being in the Republic illegally or without a permit. So all of these things for you to plead guilty, if there is such a thing as pleading guilty. Otherwise, it looks like an exercise where you are found to be illegal or you profess to be illegal, and now you want to leave the country. But as I say, according to the press release, that ship has sailed. There's no more voluntary repatriation. Now it is you going through the legal process. If indeed you are found to be illegal, then you don't always have to be incarcerated. You can pay a fine, but deportation is a natural result of being illegal.
You mentioned something that's quite important. The fact that those that are appearing before this court probably will not have adequate access to legal representation because of some of the issues that you mentioned with legal aid and the challenges that are there. What implications would that then have on this process? And could it, I don't know, ultimately prove to be null and void if challenged?
No, I think the judicial officer has the duty, as he always does, to ask the accused if A, he wants legal representation, or B, wants to represent himself. And then the choice is made at that point. And obviously ask if he understands the language. It can, sometimes these things can be technical hitches to an outcome. I think what it'll only do is delay the process. The judicial officer will not break the law when he's trying to apply the law. So he'll make the suggestions to the accused, and then the accused has the right to elect what he or she wants to do. If they elect not to be represented and they plead guilty and they say they understand the elements, and the magistrate is comfortable with the fact that they understand English and they can speak and answer correctly or properly, not correctly, properly, then he will make a decision based on the facts before him. If he finds that there's doubt about whether the services of an interpreter is necessary or the accused doesn't understand the proceedings, etc., he can remand the matter over to another day. But then you're held in custody for that period.
No, I think we're going to leave on that note. Ashraf, Essop, immigration law attorney. Thank you so much for unpacking, I think, this process for us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There you go. Immigration law attorney Ashraf Essop helping us unpack the legal and constitutional implications of the situation out in Durban and this new priority immigration court that has been set up. And it'll be interesting if it proves to be a success. Could it become a norm? Could it become, a long-term sustainable way of fast-tracked immigration interventions? Because some kind of overhaul to how we've been doing things is kind of needed, considering the state of affairs and how this conversation on immigration looks and feels like it's going to be doing the rounds for a long time, because it is an issue, and South Africa needs to confront it because it is increasingly becoming complex, and the challenges, I think, are far-reaching. So it'll be interesting to see if this could be the new norm and standard of how things are done. Going to take a quick break. News and views will continue after this.
Soweto, it's time to stand together for justice, peace, and solidarity. Join us for the annual Soweto Walk for Gaza, taking place on Saturday, the 20th of June at 7:30 a.m. The walk will begin at the historic Regina Mundi Church and proceed to the monumentous Dlamini Mosque, bringing together people of all faiths, backgrounds, and communities in a powerful show of unity and support. Bring your family, friends, and fellow residents as we walk together for a common cause. Let your voice be heard and your presence counted. That's the annual Soweto Walk for Gaza, Saturday the 20th of June at 7:30 in the morning, starting at Regina Mundi Church and ending at Dlamini Mosque. Together we walk, together we stand, together we show solidarity.